We're starting off with that title story and its satisfying conclusion about the Karen neighbor with the restraining order. Find out what she does and how OP handles it. Let's see what you would do if you came face to face with this Karen. I'm the 19-year-old female daughter of my normally very nice parents. We had new neighbors move in about 2 years ago, and for the most part, we've just left them be. They're a little annoying sometimes, and there were a couple instances where we had to complain about the overwhelming noise of their weekend parties at night, but other than that, they're pretty okay neighbors. We've never had a problem with them until recently, after several strikes against my family. Strike number 1, destructive dogs. So our neighbor's family and my family owns dogs. My dogs are very gentle and spend most of their time indoors. We live in Southern California, and when this incident happened, it was in the middle of the summer, so we let our dogs stay inside to keep cool. Their dogs are very aggressive and are raised as outside dogs. Every time I let my dogs out in the backyard for some fresh air, my neighbor's dogs will attempt to break through the wooden fence dividing our properties via digging, climbing, scratching, and so on. The digging was easy to stop. We just filled in the holes with dirt. But at some point, their dog managed to create a hole in the wall large enough for their dog to squeeze their face in, so about the size of a dinner plate. We have cameras, so we caught everything on tape. My parents are pretty understanding, so my dad went and talked to my neighbors, offering to pay half of the damage since it's our shared property line. The neighbor's wife, who we are going to call Lying Sally for this story, called my dad a liar and accused our dogs of damaging the fence, which we knew wasn't true, and my dad told her we had proof it was her dogs and demanded that my family pay for the damages. They fought over it and nothing got solved, so eventually my dad conceded and nailed some plywood over the gaping hole. Problem solved, but this was only the first strike. Strike 2, just why? The next incident is honestly really stupid, and I don't even know why Lying Sally bothered lying. So this incident happened about a few days after we had to call our third noise complaint on one of their parties again. Like seriously, who blast Let It Go at 10:30 p.m. at night? I wish I was making this up. My mom is getting out of her car in the driveway when Lying Sally walks right up to her and accuses her of yelling at their lawn mowing guy to not mow their lawn so loudly at 7:30 a.m. My mom was very confused. She's never talked to the guy who comes over to mow their lawn. We've never cared about any of our neighbors' businesses in general. For frick's sake, we have a neighbor across our street who revs his motorcycle at 6 a.m. and another neighbor who does construction stuff in his garage for a hobby. My family has been living here for almost 20 years. We're very chill with our neighbors' loud and noisy hobbies normally. Long story short, my mom confronted the lawnmower guy one morning and asked him if she's ever talked to him before, and he told her no. Lying Sally saw this and ran out of the house to confront my mom. She screams, "Why are you talking to him for?" And so my mom replies, "Because you're a lying witch." And so that's the gist of it. I don't know why Lying Sally even bothered lying about that. At this point, we were convinced Lying Sally was a nutcase. Strike number 3, the point where I finally stepped in. For the past month, my neighbors have stooped to a new low by hogging all of the parking space in front of our house whenever they get the opportunity. My family has 3 cars. 2 usually sit in our driveway, and the third is parked curbside in front of our house. My neighbors have 2 cars, both of which they park alongside the curb in front of both of our houses. Now, the curb that our houses share is only big enough for 2 cars. They've stopped using their driveway entirely just to park their 2 cars on the curb, which forces us to park our third car further down the street. It's not a big deal, but what they were doing was petty. So my parents became petty too. The moment they would move their cars to go to work, my parents would move our third car back into its spot on our half of the curb. This went on for almost an entire year until at some point an unspoken truce was made and they stopped their petty scheme. Things returned back to normal until I accidentally screwed it up In my defense, I was driving home with the third car late at night. It's dark and I accidentally back up way too far and park the car smack dab in the middle of the curb. So my car is literally in the middle between our houses. I'm tired from working all day, so I don't think much of it since our neighbor still has a whole entire driveway to themselves. Trust me, their driveway is just like ours. It's made to fit 2 cars. The next morning, I wake up to the sound of my parents arguing downstairs. Turns out, our neighbors have parked one of their cars on their driveway, and the other one is parked in front of our third car on our side of the curb. This wouldn't be a problem if half of the hood of their car wasn't sticking out into our driveway. The problem with this is that if we tried to back out the car, the one closest to their car, in our driveway, we might hit their car, and I'm pretty sure that was the purpose. I was done with their games. So I marched over next door and rang their doorbell. The husband, we'll call him Pig for this story, opens the door and he's recording me as if I'm going to attack him, which is ridiculous. I'm 5'2" and he's close to like 6 feet tall. If anything, I should be the scared one. The conversation goes like this. I say, hey, is it okay if you can move your car? And he says, no, the police told me I can park anywhere I want because it's a public road, and they even told me I could record you. I don't even care about you recording me. I just need you to move your car. You have an entire driveway to yourself. It's just common courtesy not to block your neighbor's car into their driveway. You guys can still get out. It's not that bad. Yeah, but we just don't want to hit your car by accident when we're backing out. Is that a threat? No. I'm just saying that we don't want to pay for the damage of your car because you didn't want to move it, and I can't guarantee that we won't hit it. It's pretty dang close. I don't care. I shouldn't have to move my car. You move your car. I realized that I wasn't going to get anywhere, so I let him slam the door in my face and I walked away. I went back inside my house and got on my laptop to make sure that, yes, it is indeed illegal to park in front of someone's driveway, even partially. So my neighbor does have to move by law. However, I wanted to be a petty witch, so I moved my car. I grabbed my car keys and carefully backed up the car, again, the one closest to his poorly parked car, so that the back half is inches away from the front of Pig's car. So my car is now blocking Pig's car from pulling out into the street and leaving. My car is also blocking the sidewalk, which I know is illegal, but I already had this planned out. Basically, I caged in his car and held it hostage for a couple of days. Here's the setup shown in the diagram. Either Pig or Lying Sally would have to come and apologize to make me move the car, which I knew was very unlikely, or part number 4, victory. Sure enough, as I predicted, Pig called the cops a few days later and reported my butt. His face was so smug as the officer told me that I can't legally box in someone's car like that and block the sidewalk with my vehicle. I told the officer that I understood and that I'll move my car. But I immediately pointed out that it's illegal to partially block the entrance point to someone's driveway as well, and that Pig's car is crossing that line by over 2 feet. The smile on Pig's face vanishes, and his face turns red, while the officer tells him that he's going to have to move his car as well. So I back up my car and I'm grinning like a cat who's caught his prey, while Pig has to move his car into his driveway. I also made sure to move our third car back into its rightful spot as well. We filed a restraining order against Lying Sally and won in court. So this story is actually continued in petty revenge for a nice conclusion. I'm a 20-year-old female who lives in a suburban neighborhood with my family. A few years ago, we had new neighbors move in next door. At first they seemed okay, but then they turned out to be complete party animals. I'm talking partying 3 times a week, blasting loud music till 2 a.m. Over the past year and a half, we've had multiple confrontations with our neighbors over, petty stuff. In fact, I made a post about one of those petty confrontations with our neighbors on malicious compliance. Here's the link if you want some backstory, but it's not necessary. That's what I just read there. I'm shocked it blew up as much as it did, and honestly, I almost forgot about the post entirely until a few weeks ago. Here's the story. Our neighbors were having another one of their super crazy pool parties, and it was driving everyone in the neighborhood crazy. The police, well, they couldn't do much because we would make a noise complaint, the police would show up and then give them a warning. Things would get quiet for maybe about 30 minutes, but then the partying would start again. Over time, some neighbors began to give up, and eventually some even moved away. This was especially upsetting for my mom when one of her friends, who lived on the other side of our neighbor, moved away due to our horrible neighbor. My mom had finally had enough. Once the party finally seemed to wind down at around midnight and the guests started leaving, my mom marched straight up to the female owner of the house, Lying Sally, because she's, well, a pathological liar, and warned her that we will start calling the cops on them more often if they don't stop. Of course, Lying Sally and her party guests laugh and start taunting my mom, which led to an ugly screaming match. Luckily, I had the common sense to record all of this, just in case, and thank God I did. At some point during the fight, Lying Sally screams at my mom, "I'm gonna freaking beat the crap out of you." One of our neighbors called the cops, which I don't blame him for doing so. I was getting worried for my mom, since Lying Sally kept threatening to freak her up. The cops came and everything got peacefully resolved. It wasn't until the next morning I reviewed the video and remembered that you can file a restraining order against somebody for threat of assault. Now, here's the thing. I knew that filing a restraining order against someone can cause that person to maybe lose their job or make it very difficult for that person to find a future job. I knew from the sticker on the back of her car that she works in a daycare. If I were a nicer person, I could have let it go. Too bad I'm petty. So we filed the restraining order, took my neighbor to court, and after showing the judge the video, he was immediately on our side, especially after she had initially tried to lie and claim she never once threatened my mom. She didn't know I had video proof. The judge granted us the restraining order, and we were jumping for joy. Meanwhile, Lying Sally wouldn't stop crying and pleading with the judge to rethink his verdict. The real kicker? I made an anonymous call with a friend's phone to the daycare center where she worked and let her boss know everything. A few days later, I noticed that she'd removed the sticker on the back of her car. I'm pretty sure she was fired because she started staying at home almost 24/7. Her car almost never left the driveway. Also, the best part? The crazy loud parties finally stopped. It's been radio silent for a whole month. You can bet that during Christmas, our closest neighbors dropped off a lot of cookie tins and chocolates as thanks. The Karen of my building told me her keycard isn't working, demanded that I fix her keycard. So I did. Posted by I'm the One Who. This just happened maybe 5 minutes ago, and I think it's hilarious. I'm the facility manager for my building. Everything that happens and goes wrong, it's my responsibility. So I make sure that everything runs smoothly. My boss has made it clear. It's my building, and I was hired to not only keep people in line, but run everything. I'm not a jerk, but I do hold people accountable, forcibly but politely. There was no facility manager for a long time before I came along, and both clients and employees ran amok with no order. In the 4 months that I've been here, my boss has praised my performance and has gone to bat for me countless times. She is the best boss that I have ever had. I've got a firm but fair approach, and my reputation reflects that. So I've got a Karen in the building, and trust me, the name stereotype applies, who's just a counselor for family services, has nothing to do with our group. She likes to complain about, everything, and gives my boss a headache almost daily. She shares an office with another woman who, unfortunately, picks up on her Karen tendencies. She's like a Karen in training. I've been doing a keycard audit all week, and I knew to leave Karen's keycard alone because she's the only Karen in the building, so her name stands out. I am missing 75 keycards, lots of former employees having all door access, dating all the way back to 2015. You can't have that, so I deleted a lot of them, especially if it'd be like a wacky name or just like a room number or something. However, I did delete Kit's card information, Karen in training, because it wasn't under her name. She just came to tell me her keycard wasn't working and Karen happened to be passing by and overheard it. I went and fixed Kit's keycard and we went to go check to see if it worked or not. We found Karen outside the office waiting, complaining to my boss that her keycard didn't work either. Karen wandered away and my boss rolled her eyes, and I smiled and I told her that I would take care of it. After checking to make sure Kit's keycard worked, I went downstairs to check the system, looked up Karen, and hey, wouldn't you know it, her keycard was completely fine. In fact, it showed that she had a master keycard. So I changed all of her permissions and I limited her back to just her room only. So I went upstairs and I got my boss's attention because her office is next door to the ladies, and I mouthed, "Listen," and pointed. I opened their door and was all, "Hey Karen, I went and checked your keycard in the system. Everything is good to go. In fact, it said you had a master key to the building and, well, per the company orders, so since you're not a contractor or a company employee, I can't give you that access. So I had to revoke your status to just this room only. Can't have you bugging people on official business." As I winked. "Thanks for bringing your keycard to my attention." She started to object that she needed that master keycard because XYZ, and I was all, "Yeah, sorry, maybe before, but I'm the facility manager and you don't need access to everything except this office. And hey, if you do, it's outside your pay grade, so you'll have to come get me. Okay, cool, thanks, bye." And then I just closed the door on her mid-sentence. My boss was quietly laughing her butt off in her office and gave me an air high five. "You will not recheck our scores? Fine, have fun with unemployment." Posted by Peach G Fuel. For context, I've been working in this health insurance company for the past 3 years, and I recently took another position with better hours and better pay, but this time it was to coordinate appointments with doctors and specialists. My metrics were always great, and the reason I was selected for the new position was due to my metrics. This had been brewing since October of 2022. We used to have a coworker, let's call her Karen. Karen is this old lady that thinks she knows it all and everything she says is right, and she often blames everything on someone else. Typical Karen activities. The first time I interacted with her was back in October when I messaged her via our work chat because she messed up prior authorization for a patient and the MD office was calling to have the person that created the authorization fix the issue. The conversation went like this. I said, "Hi, good morning. I have an MD office calling requesting to speak to you in regards to a prior authorization that looks incomplete." Karen says, "And you can't help them? This is a call center. You're supposed to help, and I don't even know who that MD is." "You're correct, this is a call center. However, you created the authorization, and as you know, I cannot fix authorizations that weren't created by me. And also, they would like to speak with you specifically." I also provided her the patient record number and the MD office phone number. "Well, I'm not available to talk to them." Okay. I went back to the call and I specifically told the MD what she said, including the "she's not available to talk, but hopefully she will call them back to fix the issue." I also sent a message to my direct supervisor with a screenshot of our conversation, and I simply said, "This is unprofessional, especially in an environment like ours." Fast forward the start of the year, and Karen took a position with our quality assurance department due to them being understaffed. I used to work in the QA department, and I knew the ins and the outs, and I knew that she would be assigned to our department since she already had the experience. So for context, our quality assurance gives us scores from 100, and if we miss something, we get points deducted. So for example, you miss HIPAA, it's minus 20. You give inaccurate info, minus 10. If you don't advise people for our survey, minus 5, and so on. So in January comes my first bad score in 3 years in the company. It was a 56%. And I was astonished because it's the first time that I've had a bad score. But I also make sure that this score is correct, and our company gives us a choice to listen to our calls just to be sure, just in case the quality agent made a mistake. I listened to my call and, well, I did everything right. I completed the information, provided good service, and I asked if the patient needed assistance with anything else, and provided the closing script. On the quality note, it was stated that I didn't offer any help and that I didn't even complete HIPAA. I sent it to my supervisor, and he stated that when I offered the closing script, the patient asked something and I replied and disconnected the call. Okay, I still said the closing script and his question, and my answer literally lasted 5 seconds. My supervisor still went to her and managed to fix the score to a 95% because she felt like I didn't provide a survey. If someone's worked in a call center, you know that the metrics are everything, and one bad thing will quickly not get your monthly bonuses, and on top of that, we get our butts handed to us by management because if we don't achieve the metrics, they also don't get bonuses. So I took screenshots of our conversation and I saved it in a file, and then I sent it to my personal email since I know our IT department is known for deleting anything that's not a working system or appropriate. So fast forward 3 days ago, or April 18th, I had received several scores ranging from 85% to 80% and only one 100% score. The 100 score, I received it because Karen wasn't the one who audited my call, and the other person found everything alright. But the 85% looked fishy since the first thing you see is the patient name, and I quickly remembered the call because the person was funny and I enjoyed the call. I listened to the call and of course I did everything perfectly. However, Karen put on the system that she deducted 10 points for not telling the patient that he had a copay for the visit and another 5 points for extending the call. What? I contacted my supervisor and let him know of what happened, however, I didn't receive a response. I was confused, so I sent a message to a coworker who had told that they had been having the same issue with Karen with the inaccurate audits, and the department is not achieving their monthly goals due to it. Since my supervisor didn't reply, I did what everyone does when management doesn't reply. Well, I messaged Karen, and I sent her a message that just said, "Hey, I have seen some inaccurate audits, and I would like to know if you could recheck them since I listened to the calls and everything was done properly." The reply I received was, "All audit scores are final and cannot be appealed." I knew it was a lie since I worked with quality before and I know it could be changed. I replied, "Hey, I worked in that department for 1 year and I know it could be rechecked and reversed right." Karen said, "Your previous position is irrelevant in this matter. If you don't like the score, you can go ahead and submit a complaint to my supervisor." I replied, "Okay, have a good day," knowing that her supervisor knows me really well. Cue malicious compliance. I just didn't create one formal complaint. I created one complaint for each time that she scored me incorrectly. Not only that, but I also told my 19 coworkers what she said and advised them that if they would like their scores overturned and rechecked, they could send a complaint to her supervisor, but only send one complaint per bad score. And also, to let you guys know, we don't get one audit a month. No. We get audited 10 times per month. In the span of 24 hours, her supervisor must have received around 200 complaints from our department, complaining for one person, Karen. The first complaint was mine with Karen's conversation, saying that all decisions are final and she cannot recheck or overturn, and also saying to submit a complaint to her supervisor. Her supervisor sent me a message saying that they will evaluate all the complaints and scores and we will be receiving a message. That was on Monday, April 17th. Tuesday, we didn't get any messages. Wednesday, I couldn't go to work due to my illness. But today, on April the 20th, I received a message from her supervisor stating that my scores have been reviewed and properly scored, and also stating that my supervisor will be under investigation because any complaint should be submitted to his manager and he never submitted anything, and that the employee has been terminated. But the best part is logging into our chat and seeing Karen's profile with no pictures, and instead of her name, it only said unknown user. The morale of our group is better, and I hope we don't have issues again. Karen demands ownership of my property, but I am the owner. See if you would handle this, Karen, like the original poster did. Click the video on your screen so you don't miss out, and I'll see you there.